So now let's take a look at the simple examples of using the critical path methods and crashing technique in planning the project. Later on, we will also see example on how we can do evaluations of the project. Now let's look at an example of performing a critical path method CPM analysis for a new product launch project. The initial step is that we determine the work breakdown structure, which describes the hierarchical decomposition of the total scope of work to be carried out by the project team, including explaining the activities within the project. In this case, the project activity is A to F. We also determine the sequence of activities, as well as the time duration for each activity, which is divided into several types, namely optimistic time. It's the fastest time needed to complete a project activity. Most likely is the most realistic time to complete the activity, and the pessimistic time due to undesirable condition assumptions. Based on the information on the three types of time, we can determine the expected time, which is the optimistic time, plus 4 times the most likely, and plus the pessimistic times, then divided by 6. Next, we can also determine the variance value according to the formula listed. The second process is that we need to create an AON model, which stands for Activity on Node, and the image here depicts the elements in a node. The information listed is the name of activity, the durations of the activity, earliest start, earliest finish, latest start, and latest finish. The third process is we do the forward technique by calculating the earliest start and earliest finish. Activity A is carried out at the beginning so that the earliest start is 0 with a duration of 1 month. The earliest finish is 0 plus 1 is equal with 1, and so on until the last activity. Activity D can only be done when activities B and C are finished, so that the earliest start input is 4, taken from the biggest earliest finish. After the forward technique is completed, the next is the backwards technique to determine the latest start and the latest finish. Starting from the last activity, the latest finish is 9th, then deducted by the duration of 2 months, the latest start is 7th. The same way is done until the earliest activities. Activity A has a linkage line with B and C. Unlike the forward technique, in the backwards technique, activity A will take the shortest or smallest latest start from the various related activities. So in this case, activity A will take latest start 1 from activity C because the value is the smallest as input for the latest finish in activity A. Furthermore, we can calculate the slack time is the length of time an activity can be delayed without delaying the entire project, namely by means of the latest start minus the earliest start, or the latest finish minus the earliest finish. Thus, a critical path can be determined, namely a series of activities with 0 slack. In this case, the critical path is A, C, D, E, F. To see the probability of success of a project as seen from the target completion date, we must determine the total project variance for activities on the critical path. Then determine the project standard deviation. Then we can calculate the z-value by means the due date minus the expected date of completion and then divide it by project standard deviation. Based on the z-value, the probability value can be determined using the z-table. In this case, with z-value of 2.65, the cumulative probability is 0.996. This means that the probability of successful completion of the project on or before the month 12 is 99.6%.